Hey, good afternoon, and welcome back to Ferguson Library Presents our online technology courses. Today we're going to be looking at intermediate Microsoft Word. So before I get into the class and kind of what we're covering, just some kind of things going on with the live stream here, just so you're aware of. Before the class starts, if you haven't already, go to the link that I have right up here, fergusonlibrary.org/online-tech-classes. And if you go there, you will see this website here, where we have our upcoming class schedule, but then also the handouts are available down below. And so you'll want to scroll down a little bit lower and come over here to the right and click this Intermediate Microsoft Word tab. There's going to be two different things that you're going to want to download here, or several different things you want to download. The first actually is going to be this first handout here. And what that's going to do is that's going to give you this handout here that has our different exercises that we're going to work through during the class. And then you'll also want to, let me get to the right place again. You'll also want to download this second handout. Unfortunately, just they both say handout, but this one here is going to be the practice document that we're working on, and it will look like this here. So you'll want to download each of those files and open up and view them. Additionally, you'll want to, this third link down here where it says click here to access the exercise images. If you click on this here, this is going to take you to a page that's going to have several images on here. Choose one or two, choose one, and what you want to do is you want to download this to your computer. There's directions right above, but the easiest way to do this is click on the image with your left mouse button, and then when this loads on your browser, right click and choose Save Image As, and then save it to some place on your computer so you'll be able to find it easier. When you're all done, you can click the back button to go back to your previous website here. So I'm going to just close this. And then later on at the end of the class, here's also a link to the survey. I will have that link available on the screen here as well too. So you'll be able to go to that address, or you can come here and just click the survey link. So, if you have any questions during the course of this class, feel free to drop them into the chat on the YouTube channel. I am keeping an eye on the chat, and what you're seeing is a little bit delayed from how I'm currently presenting. I will see your questions, and when I feel it's a good point to stop and go back and answer the questions, I will. Since most of you are probably looking at this on the screen, you're watching the video, and then you want to also be doing the exercise in your version of Microsoft Word. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and demonstrate certain of the skills, and then I will give you usually about 3 to 4 minutes to go and practice yourself in Word. If you have questions during that practice time, it's a great time to ask them in the chat, and I'll be able to answer that. Otherwise, kind of follow along with what I'm doing, and then I'll give you time to go and practice it there. So today we're looking at intermediate Microsoft Word. We're going to be looking at working with Microsoft Word 2016 or Microsoft Word 365. I actually have 365 installed on my computer here, but the way everything looks and works is very similar to Microsoft Word 2016. A lot of what we're working at here is the same as when we're working in earlier versions of Microsoft Word. So whether you're working with Microsoft Word 2010 or 2013, a lot of the stuff is the same. Only near the end, when we start working on styles, in 2016, they did an update to the ribbon and kind of added a new design tab. So that's one of the slight areas where there'll be a little bit of difference. If your Word does look a little bit different or doesn't behave the way that I'm demonstrating, let me know in chat, and I will tell you kind of how to get to where we are in the version that you're using. So with that covered, let's take a look at what we're going to actually look at during the course of this class. So coming into this class, some of the things that you should already know already, and these are things that I'm not going to really go over, is you should know how to create a new Word file, how to save and open a saved Word file, changing the font size and format of text in a Word document, and changing the justification of text in a Word document. Those were all covered in our basic Word class, which I did last week. If you're interested, if you go to that online tech classes website, you can there's a link that you can click and watch the recording of last week's class. That's also available here on the YouTube channel. What I am going to be going over in this class is we're going to look at how to insert and edit an image in Microsoft Word. We're going to look at how to insert and edit a table in Microsoft Word. We're going to look at how to create a header and footer, We're going to look at the top and the bottom of the pages. And finally, we're going to do a brief introduction to styles and what styles are in Microsoft Word. So without further ado, let's dive in and start taking a look at what we can do with Microsoft Word here. I'm going to change over to here. So this is the Microsoft Word, the intermediate Microsoft Word practice document that we're going to be working with through the course of this class. All it is just some like random kind of text that I picked up somewhere online to be able to use for this exercise here. So during the basic Microsoft Word class, we spent a lot of our time in the ribbon here in our Home tab, where we're able to look at things like the fonts and the justification and just kind of entering text and how text works in Microsoft Word. Today, where we're going to be spending a lot of our time is we're going to be looking over here at this Insert tab. So I'm going to click over to the Insert tab. And you can see the Insert tab has basically all the different things that you can insert into your Microsoft Word document. Things like inserting pages. I think these might be new in the newer version. These here usually existed over here in the layout area. In fact, they still are here in the layout. You have different page breaks here. But the insert just allows you to kind of insert in a page break or a blank page if you need to, quick things. We have our tables. We'll be looking at this in just a second here. And then moving in, we have our illustrations section here, which is basically all the different kind of artwork things that you can add to a Word document. Most things that most people will do will be pictures. This will be files from your computer. So anything that you file, if you have images that you want to add, or you download something from the internet, or there's a graph image, or whatever you have that you'll insert pictures. We'll be looking at this here in just a second. There's online pictures. One of the things that the newer versions of Microsoft Word and Microsoft Office have done is they've kind of done a big push to go online a lot more. And so the online pictures is just part of that. They're being able to access pictures that are from a variety of different online sources. They have things like shapes. So if you want to be able to put in like rectangles or arrows or triangles, or even some like very basic ideograms here, they have different shapes that you can insert. All of these here behave the same way as the pictures. So we're going to be looking at how to do pictures, but all of these here behave the same way. Icons, 3D models, all these things. I really encourage you after this class and kind of in your own kind of working with Microsoft Word, get in here and experiment with these different kind of things, kind of see what they do, see how they behave. It's all about kind of self-exploration and learning. I'm going to introduce you to the basics and how they work here. But then you can get in and kind of explore, and you can kind of see all the other things that we can add in there. We can add in actually add-ins. We can actually get new things to kind of add into, including things like pasting from like Wikipedia if you want to do that on there. Links. How do you handle links? Microsoft Word does a lot of things that are very close to how the World Wide Web works now. So there's a lot of that kind of built in. We're also going to be looking over here at this header and footer area here. So today's class, what we're going to be looking at is we're going to be looking at how to insert tables, pictures, and the header and footers over here. So let's start. We're going to start by inserting a picture into our practice document here. We're going to insert it right up here at the top. So I'm going to actually click right up next to the first W of Wide World Importers. And I'm going to come up here into the Insert tab. I'm going to come down here to Pictures, and I'm going to click Pictures. And what this does is this is going to open up the typical Microsoft Microsoft Windows file browser window. By default, it dumped me into my Pictures directory, which there's nothing here. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to browse to the directory where I have some images saved. Where you're going to go in this case here is you're going to go to wherever that picture that you downloaded from here. If you went and downloaded these pictures here, these might have saved to your downloads folder or wherever, but wherever those save, that's where we're going to go. I'm going to go Microsoft Word, Word Intermediate, and I'm just going to choose one of these random, choose D. So there we go. So now I have inserted, you can see it's dropped the picture here right into the top of my Word document. It's very large. It's large enough that you can see it's actually pushed my text over here to to another page. So once the picture's inserted, you'll notice right up here at the very top in our ribbon, we actually get a new tab added to the ribbon, which is called Picture Format. This used to be called Picture Tools in an earlier version of Office. There actually used to be like Picture Tools and like Picture Format. There actually used to be two of them there, and now they've kind of combined it into a kind of singular ribbon tab, which makes things a little bit easier. But you might see two different ones up here before, if you're on a slightly older version, if you're on 2010 or 2013. So once we're in there, and so what this does is this gives us things like being able to do some basic edits and kind of some basic kind of filters and changes to the picture, different styles, and we're going to play around with these in a little bit. Things like the position and the wrap text, we're going to be looking at this here and how this works, and then also things like the size of the image there. So as I mentioned, when I inserted this picture in here, it's a little bit large. And so what happens, I want to make it a little bit smaller so that all of my document here stays onto a single page. So there are there's a couple different ways that I can resize the image. The first is if you look, now that I have, once the image is selected, when I inserted the image, it automatically selects it there. And you'll notice that around the edges are these little circular dots. And what those are called handles or image handles. There's also this little rotate thing up here. This is a rotation handle. And what these handles do is they allow me, if you notice my mouse goes from either this like white arrow, let me see if I can get a place, there we go, this white arrow here, or the text insert cursor. When I put my mouse over it, you notice it becomes this little white arrow that points up and down, or diagonally back and forth. Or if I put it over here, it points left and right, up here, up and down. And so what these handles do is they allow me to drag and change the size of the image. So if I move up here to this corner, this top right corner, and I click and hold and drag down, you can see actually I am shrinking the image into a smaller size. And I can drag it to whatever size that I wanted to do. I went to the corner here instead of one of the sides because the corner keeps, when I resize using one of these quarter handles, and it could be either all four of them. It doesn't matter which of these four I use. I can use any four of these corners there and such. But by using those corner handles, it keeps the aspect ratio of the image, which means that the length and the height, or the width and the height of the image, stay in the same ratio to each other. And what that means is that it doesn't squish or stretch the image. So if I went to, like, say, this side image over the side handle over here and drag this here, you can see I can make it wider, but it's not making it taller or shorter while I'm doing that there. And so you can see what it does is it kind of stretches or squishes the image. And the same thing with this top and down one. If I shrink it down, I can squish it. If I move it up, I can stretch it. And those are fine to use if that's kind of the effect that you're looking for. But most people, when they insert in an image into Microsoft Word, they want it to look the same way that the image always looks. That's why you'll want to use these kind of corner handles to resize the image there. You'll notice down here that Wide World Importers is like pressed right up against the edge of the image there. This is where the word wrap, or not the what do they call it? They called it the go back here. The wrap text function comes in, and so or the position. So let's see, over in here. Actually, yep. Before I go into that there and such, I'm going to give you all the opportunity. Go open up your practice document, take and insert the image that you downloaded into there. I mean, it doesn't have to be specifically the image that you downloaded. You can insert any image that you want into the practice document. If you have any questions, please ask me in the chat, and I will be here, and I'll give you about 3 minutes to kind of do that there. Once you have it inserted, play around a little bit with the sizing of the image, kind of see the different sizes, and then we'll continue on with the next part of the class. about another time. And if you have any questions, let me know. So everybody's inserted in a picture, and I realized right after I sent you all off to kind of do this exercise that I had mentioned that there were a couple different ways that you can resize an image in Microsoft Word, and I only showed one of them. So let me actually demonstrate the other ways that we can actually resize an image. You look up here when you have the picture selected, so when you click on the image, if you look up in the very top right of the ribbon, right up here over here, you'll see that there's actually a size section on the picture format ribbon there, and there's a height and width entered into there. And so this allows you to be very precise with entering in a height and width, which is very useful if you say you want to be able to match up a bunch of images to all the same size, because when you click and drag, you can kind of eyeball it. You can kind of get it to look designed, kind of just that kind of loose, kind of laissez-faire kind of design aspect into there. But I wanted to make sure that all of my images were specifically 3 inches wide, I can come up here where it says width and I can type in 3 inches and enter. And what it'll do then actually is it will resize that image specifically to be 3 inches. So if I put in a second image, I can go up there and tell the width to be 3 inches, and it will automatically resize it, and it will match the same width as that I entered there before. So this allows you to be very precise. You can see it goes down to like the hundredths of the inch. So you can do 2.25, 2.25 inch on there, or you can do it specifically on the inch. You can be very precise. You can also use the little up and down arrows here to kind of drill it into the area that you want it to go. You'll notice that when you resize it this way, it does keep the aspect ratio. It doesn't just change the width or the height. And so what it does is it has what they call an aspect lock. So it makes sure that the height and the width remain locked in the same aspect ratio. The third tool that you can use to resize images in a Microsoft Word document is this crop function over there. And so crop actually shows up, there's actually like many of the buttons on the ribbon in Microsoft Word. The crop button is actually 2 different buttons here. The top one is just your default crop. The bottom one gives you kind of a crop menu. But if I click on this top one there and such, you can see I get these added black handles to my image there. And what this allows me to do is I can actually kind of crop this to like a specific image of what I want. So if I wanted to get this kind of like banner kind of look going, so it's a little bit narrower and wider, and then when I hit the crop button, what it'll do is it'll actually remove the sections that I've pushed those handles in. So that grayed out sections, they'll actually get removed from the image. So those are the 3 different ways that you can kind of resize the image. So the next thing that we do after resizing the image is we look at the arrangement of the image with the text. And I always kind of recommend when you're working with a Word document and you're going to put in images, put in your text content first. First of all, it's easier and it's faster to just kind of go and type, because that's what Microsoft Word is designed for, is putting in words and documenting words. It's a word processor, or processing words. And then you go in and add your images, because then it's a lot easier to adjust and edit your images and make them look the way that you want when you have the text behaving around them. So you can see like right now, like Wide World Importers, which is kind of like the title part of this full document, is kind of on the same line as the picture, and I kind of want it to be in a different place. I kind of want it to be underneath with the rest of the text, not kind of pressed up against the side of my image here. So right now, when you first insert an image into Microsoft Word, if I come here to image, or come up here in the picture formats again, I have the picture selected, I come up to picture format, and I come over here to this position button, and I open this up here. This top section here says inline with text. And so what the inline with text means is that it treats the image, the picture that you're looking at there, as if it were like another letter that you've typed in. So you're able to put, you can space on either side of it, you can enter, it's like a really big letter entered into your document. Down below, we have this text wrapping. And what this does is this positions the image somewhere on your page. And you can kind of see it gives us 9 different positions that we can put this onto the page. It just puts the picture there, and then it will wrap the text around wherever it's at. So if I go and click this here, you can see this, put this into the middle of the page. And if I shrink my page here just a bit so you can kind of see the whole page, you can see it's right here in the middle, but then it wraps the text around here. And so that's what the text wrapping means, is how does the text kind of behave around there. So now what happens is that when I add in words, or if I move this picture here, the text moves around with the words. Newer version, you can actually see as I'm moving this around, I'm actually getting these green guidelines showing up. This is a new feature for Office 2016 and Office 365. This does not exist in Office 2010 or 2013, the earlier versions. And what it does is this is telling me I have the picture centered into the middle of the page, moving up and down. Right now I have it centered up and bottom. If I move it over here to the side, you can see I have this edge pressed up against the left margin. So that's what those guidelines are. But when I turn on the text wrapping, I can then, the text then behaves like wraps itself around the image. So I can then decide where I want to put it on there. The next button here next to the wrap text, if I click on this here, tells me how the text kind of, how close it is or how it behaves when it's text wrapping. So up here is that inline with text. That's that default, that initial state that when we put the image in, where it treats it just like a letter or a word. Square means that it kind of has there's an invisible square around the image that the text then kind of fits itself around. Tight means that it's just a little bit tighter square. There isn't as much space between the square and the words. Through is really interesting. What through does, and is actually, if I do it, yeah, there we go. So if I put it behind the text, what through does is through actually allows it to actually allows your text to move through the image. In this case, it's actually because I put the image behind as a set of different layers. So we have the blank document here. I have the image sitting there, and then the text is sitting on top of that. And so by putting it there, the text then shows up over the top of the image. So this is a way that you can kind of maybe insert in things like, say, like a watermark or like an image background behind your text if you want to. You can put it in there. You can set it to be in behind the text and it'll move it there. Top and bottom means that it wraps top and bottom on there. Things like edit wrap points means that you can get creative with how the point. So if you have an image that's maybe not rectangular or not square, but it has an unusual shape to it, you can actually adjust the points so that the text behaves. Let's see. You can kind of, it's hard to see because my text is black and my image has a lot of black in it, but it kind of now wraps the text around this new line that I drew in there. I'm actually going to undo this. Yep. So that is the image arrangement and how the text wrapping and text alignment works with images. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to jump back into your Word document and so play around with the image, drag it down into the text there, and play around with the position and the wrap text and kind of see the different styles that it's done. When you're all set, you're actually going to just want to bring this image right up here back to the top of your document, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to where it says Wide World Importers, and I'm just going to hit Enter to kind of bring that down to a line. This is We're going to actually put this back in line with text. There we go. So now it's actually matching with the margins and everything there. And then this is down onto a new line. So I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to kind of go in and check out those kind of different tools working with images in your Word document with whatever image that you imported. Again, drag them down into the body of the text and play around with the positioning and then the wrap text and kind of see how it behaves on there. If you have any questions, please ask in the chat. All right, so has everybody taken some time to go and practice with the images in the document? So we're going to move on to looking at some of the other different things you can do with images in your Word document, kind of make things look a little nicer, a little prettier. So we've looked mainly at the this right section over here of the picture format toolbar. Moving over to the left, we have a couple different things. We have over here, we have adjust. This allows you to do some basic image edits. This is not as powerful as what you get with something like Photoshop or Paint.net or any of the kind of the other image editors that are out there. But it does allow you to do some kind of straightforward edits in Microsoft Word itself. So you can do things like corrections, whether you want to kind of sharpen or kind of dim or make it brighter on there, so the changing the brightness or how sharp the image is. If you want to kind of blur it to kind of get that kind of cool kind of out of focus look on there, you can kind of play around with that there. Colors, you can change how the color of the image looks, whether you want it to be like a black and white image or like a sepia toned, or even go with some like outrageous like blue or purple kind of colorations on there to match whatever maybe the rest of your design is looking at. You just want to get kind of an image in there that kind of catches the eye, but matches with the rest of the images or the rest of the colors and design that you have in your document. They have things like artistic effects, which are kind of fun to play around with. I do encourage just kind of get in there, kind of put in an image and kind of play around with these different effects. And you can see as I'm moving my mouse over the different effects, it's giving me a preview of what it looks like right on my document. So you're able to kind of see. So this is kind of a cool kind of like through like a watery layer or through like a pebbled glass kind of, they actually call it glass. There's actually names to these kind of things. So there's kind of some fun if you want to kind of make it kind of an eye-catching look on there. Transparency basically determines whether or not like something can be seen through it, and so you can have it completely opaque or not see-through, all the way to like completely see-through. So it's just something that's kind of showing up in there. Again, this transparency is a good use if you want to be able to put something like a virtual watermark onto your document. You can do it this way here. In the middle, and as you can see, they kind of think this is kind of an important part of working with pictures because it takes up pretty much half of the ribbon on here, right in the middle, right where your eyes move up when you look up to the top. And so these are different styles. How is the picture shown? When you first insert the picture, it's just going to grab the image, put it into your document, and it's going to look exactly as it is as if you opened it up in your image editor and took a look at it. But the picture styles here allow you to do things like different frames around it or different shapes. So you can see if I go up here, it makes my picture kind of an oval with a black border around it. Or I can do kind of an oval with kind of a white border, or they call it metal oval here. If I go over here, I get kind of where it's kind of the edges get softened and I still get that oval look. So you get these different styles that you can kind of have the picture go around. Picture effects. Look over here, we have different picture effects, whether or not we're adding like a shadow, and you can kind of see the shadow is this little gray thing. So what it does, it almost gives kind of a little bit of a 3D effect on your image there, that it kind of floats above the background of your document. Moving down, you can give things like glow. I mean, there's a lot of different things that we can do. Bevels is kind of the edges around it, whether it's kind of like a raised edge, kind of going around the outside. So if I do this here, you can kind of, it's hard. Actually, let me zoom in and see if maybe it's easier to see if I zoom. Yeah, here we go. You can see it specifically right over here in this corner over here. You can kind of see, it's almost like a jeweled facet carved into the image there. So different kind of things you can kind of play around with on there as well too. Picture border, you can kind of decide what border gets put around it. Am I going to put like a border around there? And then you also have like your different shapes on here. So what we're going to do through our exercise here is that we're going to change the shape of our image here. We're going to actually change it to, I like this soft edge oval. I think it's kind of a neat look that's on there. And then we're going to put a border around there of, actually, I'm going to go with this red color, which is showing up because I didn't set an image yet. So to set a border, you choose a color, and then you come down here and you choose like the weight of the image. The weight of the image is how thick is that border. And it's not doing anything because that soft edge focus actually does not work well with borders. So let me actually choose something like this here. Color. There we go. Now you can see I've added this kind of reddish kind of oval around there. I'm going to give you about 3 minutes to go and play around with these different picture formats tool. Play around with some of the colors and the artistic effects over here. Choose a picture style and then put a border around it. Choose a color and then choose a weight on this here. If you have any questions, please ask in the chat and I'll be here to answer them. Yep. Right. Okay, yes. So there's a question about where the practice document is. Let me actually jump over here. So if you look at the link that I have right up here, fergusonlibrary.org/online-tech-classes, that will take you to this web page, and I'll open it up and show you here. So it'll take you to this web page here, which is our kind of clearinghouse for online classes. Has our upcoming class schedule, and then down here is going to be kind of the section with all the different classes. You want to click this tab on the right that says Intermediate Microsoft Word. There'll be two handouts here. The first handout is the PDF here of the exercises that we're working through. The second handout is the Word document that we're working with. So this one here with the wide world importers. And then if you want to grab some images that we're using, this link here goes out to images that you can then download and use in the picture. So that's where the practice are. So you want to go to fergusonlibrary.org/online-tech.classes. So that address right up there. And I'll just give you a couple minutes to catch up on that there. If you have questions, again, please ask in the chat. And I'm going to actually then, we're going to move on to the next thing. But I can also, you can come back and work on the pictures while we're working on some of the other skills as well, too. Thanks for asking the question. So now that we've played around with images, this has been kind of just a very basic kind of look at how to work with images in Microsoft Word. There are a lot of different things. Again, my recommendation is get in there, experiment, play around with it. It can't hurt to play. You can't break your computer or Microsoft Word by experimenting. If you do something that seems to be like really strange, like for now, I just realized that this thing is like floating above. I have this like weird shadow under there. I realized this is not something that I really like or how to look on there. Up here in the top left on your toolbar is an undo button, and I can click undo and kind of go back through all of the decisions, good or bad decisions that I've made regarding this image, all the way back to me inserting the image. And if things get really messed up and you just can't seem to undo it out of the way, the best thing you could do is you could just close your Word document. It's going to ask if you want to save. Just say no. And then either start again or open it up the saved file and start from wherever you started off with. Sometimes the best thing to do is just go back to the beginning and continue working again. So yeah, get in and experiment and have fun. The next thing we're going to look at here in this class is that we're going to look at inserting a table. So tables are like a little mini spreadsheet that can get put onto a Word document. It doesn't have as much power as a spreadsheet in Excel does. You can't really do the formulas, but it really does help with actually laying out information that sometimes can be difficult trying to lay out in Microsoft Word normally. So what we're going to do is I'm going to come down here to the bottom of my document. Down at my last line, I'm going to enter to go down to a new line. I'm going to go back here to my Insert tab on my ribbon. And we have this little section right here. Tables doesn't take up a lot of space because it's a pretty simple function in here. And I'm going to click on Tables, and I get this little oh, I just realized, haha, you're not seeing what I'm showing. Okay, let me start that again. So I'm going to go down to the bottom of my document down here. And okay, and then the undo, as I mentioned, is right up here on the top left. Sorry about that. I didn't realize I realized I was in the wrong display. So yeah, so the undo up here allows me to undo different things that I've done with my images here. Down to line. So I'm going to come down here to the bottom of my document. I'm going to hit enter. So I'm down on a new line. I'm going to come up here to insert. And right here, there's this table button here. So I'm going to click on table, and it's going to open up this grid of boxes. And what this does is this allows me to insert the size of the table that I want to do. How many columns am I going to go across? And you can see as I move my mouse over it there and such, it starts to create the columns down at the bottom of my document. How many rows that I want to go. So in this case, what we're going to do is I'm going to create a table with 4 columns and 5 rows. So I'm going to go over 4 columns and we're going to go 5 rows. And it's going to kind of go off to the next page a bit. So actually what I'm going to do for that actually is I'm just going to actually make it go to the next page. I'm just going to hit a bunch of enters so that it kind of goes up onto its own page up here. Just kind of make sure that everything's easier to see all together. So you can see now I have my 4 by 5 array of table boxes here. The size of these boxes here automatically will be make them kind of all match to kind of fit the width of your document. Later on, we are able to adjust the width of those boxes, and I realized there we go. I like to have my ruler be visible on here, and you can see actually as I created the table, it's put in these little markers here to mark that kind of match where these lines are. If your ruler is not visible in your Microsoft Word, you can go to the View tab on your ribbon up here, and there'll be a section right here where it says Show, and just check the top box that says Ruler. Make sure that's checked there, and you'll see the ruler at the top of your document there. And what that is that's just useful to be able to kind of see where your margins are and do some basic adjustments. We're not going to cover too much of that in this class, but I find it's just a useful tool to always kind of have visible, and it doesn't take up a lot of space, so it's good to have. So now that we have the table created, we have to go fill in the information in the table. And you can just type the information in just like you type in Microsoft Word or Microsoft Excel. Here and show, we're going to fill in this, we're working on exercise 2 on our handout. We're going to fill in the top row with the following labels: item number, item name, color, price. And then skip over the change the shading right now. I'll be showing that in just a second. Fill in the rest of the tables with these information on there. So do this part. So when I'm going to send you off to kind of work on creating your table, you're going to create the table with the 4 columns and 5 rows, and then kind of fill in the top row with the labels, and then fill in the other rows with the information that's available here. If you have questions, let me know in the chat. And I'm going to continue working on it, so you can see me working. If you jump back to the video, you'll see me working on them as well too. I'll give about 5 minutes for this here. And then we'll continue on with looking at the different ways that we can kind of format and change the table that we're working on. I've been playing a lot of the game Animal Crossing the past couple of weeks, and all the stuff that's on this table here makes me feel like stuff that can be made in that game. Kind of funny. minutes. Again, if you have any questions or you have any difficulty with this here, please let me know in the chat. We'll go over the steps again. All right, so how is everybody done with inserting their tables and filling in information? Good? Okay, so you remember noticing actually on the exercise sheet, I did mention things about change the shading of the top row to be filled in with a different color. And then we're also going to go down and we're going to insert a new row. So we're going to learn now look at how to actually work with the table that we've inserted into our Microsoft Word document there. You'll notice that when I have the cursor inside of my table here, so I still have my cursor here at the last box that I entered. Up on the ribbon, there are two different tabs up here. There's a table design and there's a layout tab. So these are what they call context sensitive tabs. These are like the picture format tab that we saw earlier that will only show up when you're in a table. So if I go and click out in the text of my document over here, you can see those don't show up here. But if I go and click inside, there they are again. Let's take a quick look at these two different kind of new tabs that we get in our ribbon. So we go to table design and it does what it says. It actually gives us design options for how we want our table to look. So over here on the left, we have kind of the options that we're able to view. So things like header row. And so what header row says is that this top row is a set of labels. It's a header row. The first column, actually, we're going to uncheck first column. This here mentions that the first column is unique in some way. So maybe we have labels going down the side there. Like you could have days of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or months of the year, February, March, April. And you just want those to kind of stand out from the rest of the data. You can kind of make those kind of stand out. A total row means that there's a row that has, say, a total of things. And again, what those do is that it just cues or tells Microsoft Word that these rows or columns might be a little bit special, and that when you choose styling to kind of treat them in a different way. There's things like banded rows, banded columns. With our small table here of only 5 rows, banded rows isn't that useful. What banded rows, and actually this, when I put my mouse over it, it gives this nice little tooltip here to show. What it does is it kind of slightly colors alternating rows in your Microsoft Word table, so that when you're reading it across, if you're reading across from left to right, it's easy to kind of keep your eye on the same row because you can tell it because it's all the same color kind of going across. And so when you have a lot of rows that maybe have like a lot of information going across, sometimes it's nice to have those banded rows so that it makes it really easy to kind of make sure that you're reading across the same line. It's a visual cue. It makes things easier to read, and that's why you sometimes see those banded rows in a lot of design kind of things. Moving over to the middle, again, the styles always takes up a lot of space in kind of things. And what this does is this allows you to kind of decide how you want your kind of table to look. They give a bunch of kind of default styles, and you can always create your own styles if you wanted to. But there's a lot of that in here where you're able to just kind of, and so like something like this here, you can kind of see my preview over to the right of all the styles kind of thing over into this area over here. Like this is, you can see the banded table, the banded rows there, whereas the, here, let me click on this and we can take, there we go. So by doing this here, you can see now it automatically made my top row, my header row, the header row, remember this option up here, bold, so that the text there stands out from the rest. If I actually did first column, you can see that this makes this bold as well too. So this table style is what's determining how those look, and the look changes based on the settings that I do there. If I do like a total row, you can see this bottom one here, it put this little double line there, it made this bold. It makes that stand out from the rest of the data that I have on the table. It doesn't fit with this table that I designed, so I'm turning those options off. But this also shows us those banded rows that I have, where it makes it like this one here is a slight lighter gray, whereas this here is white. So it makes it kind of really easy to read across. What we're going to do actually is that we're actually going to do kind of our own design. I'm actually going to take this back to the default, which is this top left. If I open this up, it's this top left one there. So this is how it looked originally. And what I'm going to do is I want to color this top row here because it's my header row. I want to color it a specific color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select it by highlighting. I'm going to start dragging from either the left, the right, until I selected the whole row. I'm going to come up here with the shading, and I'm going to click the bottom part. This is another one of those two-part buttons that Microsoft Word likes to use. Sorry, getting hiccups. I'm going to hit shading, and then I'm going to be able to choose a color. And I'm going to choose this kind of nice, actually we have, since we have bamboo, we're going to go with the nice green. I'm going to go with this kind of nice pale green. If I go too dark, it makes my font a little hard to read. So I'm going to go a little bit lighter here. And now you can see now as I have this kind of nice little accent color at the back of my table. So that's done by going here to the shading and going down and choosing a color to do that. The next part of the exercise is to insert a new row. And so we're going to do that actually by right place. I don't know why I say at the right place, but okay, so what we're going to do actually is in order to insert a row, there's a couple different things that you can do. If I'm here at the very end of my table and I want to add in rows down to the bottom, so the idea is that sometimes when you make a table in Microsoft Word, you don't exactly know how many rows that you. The easiest thing to do is make it fewer. Start off with making your table of like 3 or 4, 2 or 3 rows. Actually, usually 3, like 3 or 4 rows. And then when you get down to the end of it, when I get down to this end here, when I hit the tab key, because the tab takes me from cell to cell, or from box to box. When I get here and I hit tab again, it will automatically go down to a new line and create a new row on there. So that's one of the easiest ways to kind of create a new row. And so when you're entering information, you can just keep hitting tab as you go box to box, hit tab, it goes down to the next line, and it'll keep creating rows until you're done entering information into your table. Additionally, if I move my mouse over here to the left side of this table, I get this little plus sign, and it shows up in between these 2 rows. If I click on that, it will add in a new row. The same thing happens here. If I go in and I want to add in a column, which we'll do in just a second also, I can come up here and I can move it right in between. And this is what shows up in Microsoft Word 2016 and Microsoft Word 365, which is what we're looking at here. In earlier versions of Microsoft Word, you actually have to kind of click on the table, and there's an insert on your right click menu, and it allows you to insert rows above or below where you're at, or columns to the left or right. If you don't want to right click, we have the table layout tab up here. Remember with those 2 tabs at the top? We're going to go back up and we're going to look at the table layout and such. You can kind of see right over here in the top left of the ribbon up here, we have our rows and columns section, and this allows us to insert rows above, below, left, or right. And you can also delete rows or cells or columns as necessary on there. So the layout allows us to kind of change the layout of how things are showing on there. So I'm going to send you off to kind of continue practicing on your practice document. So what you're going to do is you're going to want to color your top row of your table a color, and you can do that here in the Table Design tab. Select the row, come over here where it says Shading, and then choose a color that you want to do. And then add a row into the middle of your table. It doesn't matter really where. Just want to insert into the middle of the table, and you can do that by clicking this plus symbol here if it shows up in your version of Microsoft Word, or coming here to the Layout tab, putting your cursor wherever you kind of want it there, and then inserting the row above or below where you're at. If you have questions for that there, let me know in the chat. And then enter in, there's just another line of information on the handout here. Sorry. Right here, enter in that information to kind of continue filling in the table. And again, if you have questions, let me know. So I'm going to go. Okay, about another minute to practice, and then we'll continue on with our exercise. Okay, so now that we've done some basic formatting on our table, we've changed our header row to a different color, we've added in a row. One of the things that you can do in Microsoft Word with the text that's in your table is you can treat it just like you treat any of the other text that you enter in Microsoft Word. So for example, if I want to make this first row or this first column here be bold, all I need to do is select the text just like I would select the text over my document here. And in my Home tab, I come up here to my font section and I just click the bold button, or I can hit Control B to use the keyboard shortcut. And you can see it makes it bold. So you're able to do the same things with your text in your table that you are in the rest of Microsoft Word. The next part of the exercise we're going to do is we're going to actually add a column to our table here and see what happens. Because right now, our table here is kind of neatly stretched across the width of our page. I'm going to do quickly. I'm going to this right here in the middle, so it makes it kind of, this is the focus. You don't have that other page viewing right now, but you can see this kind of nicely fits across. All the cells are the same size and everything. What happens if I add a column? I'm going to come over here to the right side, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to insert a column to the right. And you can see when I insert the column to the right, it inserts a blank column. All of these here kind of shrink down. They're all still the same size, but it just kind of squishes them in to kind of give space for the new column. You can see in this case here, in the case of this entry there, that it actually wrapped down to a new line. So one of the neat things about tables in Microsoft Word is that you can actually hit the Enter key and kind of make them as big as, enter in as much text as you need into the word there. what we're going to do here, you can also see that it copied the formatting of this top row. It kept this top row, so you can keep adding columns to there, and it will make sure that top column always stays that shading that you chose until you decide to change it. What we're going to do here is we're going to actually call this in stock question mark, and then we're just going to kind of just go in and say, okay, you're in stock, not in stock, you're in stock, coasters in stock because nobody buys coasters anymore, but the knife blocks. I'm just going down and just marking things yes, no, yes. Just kind of fill in. You can kind of see I was able to easily insert a row or column into there and fill in the information. The final thing that we're going to look at doing with the table here is that, as I mentioned, the tables in Microsoft Word are kind of like what you can do in Microsoft Excel with the tables and the spreadsheet in there, but it's not as powerful. You don't get a lot of the math or the functions or the formulas that you get. I mean, there actually are some formulas. If you're going to do anything that's going to involve that kind of elaborate math or sorting or editing, do it in Microsoft Excel and then insert the Microsoft Excel table into Microsoft Word. If you're interested in how to do that there, here's a little cross-selling. In 2 weeks, I'll be doing Microsoft Office Integrated. Actually, next Thursday, so a week from this Thursday, I'll be doing Microsoft Office Integrated, which shows how to use Microsoft Excel with Word and PowerPoint. So how to take like a table into Excel and put it here into Word. So if you're going to do any of that elaborate, where you want to do a lot of math and a lot of formulas and a lot of kind of working minutely with the data, do that in Excel and then bring it over to Word when you're all done with it. The tables in Word are there mainly for presentation of text. It's a simple formatting kind of thing. But that doesn't mean that you still can't do some of the kind of things that you can do as you can in Excel. For example, we can sort the data by one of these columns if we want. Now, if you notice, I'm inside the table, and I'm in my table layout tab up here. Right over here on the right, there's a data section. So there's that formula there, but there's a sort. So if I click this button here, I get a sort similar to what I get in Microsoft Excel, a little bit less powerful, and a little bit different terminology, but still I'm able to sort the information. Now, because I had marked my top row as a header row, it actually recognizes that and gives me the labels here. If I had not done that, let me just quickly, what happens if I header row, go here and sort, still doing it. Oh, my list has, okay, it's actually here. If I do has no header row, you can kind of see it just says columns 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It doesn't recognize the name that I put up there. By saying that there's a header row, it pulls in those labels and it separates that row from being sorted. So it will not get sorted with the rest of the different things. So always when you're designing your tables, put in a header row and make sure that you have it marked as a header row. I'm going to sort in this case here by price. And here it tells me, okay, price is a number. And in this case, because I have dollar signs there, yes, it's a number. And we wanted to go ascending. We want to go from the lowest to the highest. And so I'm just going to hit OK. And what it did now is it just sorted all my information here so that the price is now showing from the lowest up to the highest there. I'm going to give you about 2 minutes. Go in, or yeah, we'll say about 2 minutes. Add in a new column at the end of your table, and then sort it by price. If you have questions, let me know in the chat. All right, so we have now done some basic editing with our table. We've added a new column and we've sorted it. So that's tables in Microsoft Word. If you have any questions with that there, again, please ask them in chat and come back and look there. But for now, we're going to move on to the next skill that we're looking at here today. And that's we're going to be looking at what they call the header and footer of the document. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back up to my first page in my document. And okay, so now that we're in our I'm back at the first page there and such. We're going to look at what they call the header and footer of the pages. And so the header and footer of a Word document are these blank margin tops. So right up here, this top section up here, right above where my image is or where my first line of text would be, is this blank white space that's inside the margin. The margin of this is, I think it's set probably to like an inch, is the top of the page there. The footer is in that bottom inch down here. And so header and footer actually allows you to put content inside of that empty space. And it's usually used to kind of help provide information about the document or the page that you're on. So for example, things like page number. We've all read books, we all look at books, and down at the bottom or the top of the page, depending on how the book is designed, there's a page number in there. And that's usually fit into the header or footer of the page. You can put the title of the document, you can put the author of the document. We also see that in books. You see the author, you see the title, or you see like the title and the chapter title, whatever kind of different information that they put into a book at the top or bottom of the actual block of text. Now, when you insert something into the header, it goes into the header on every single page. So if you have a 15-page document and I insert the title into the header up here, it will show up on all 15 pages. There are a couple exceptions to that there, and I will show those there as we continue into working with the header and footer. So how do we start working with the header? There's a couple different ways that you can get into the header or footer editing mode in Microsoft Word. The easy or the straightforward way, the way that they kind of always will talk and kind of matching with everything else that we've been working on in this class here, is if you go to the Insert tab over here, right over here, kind of in the middle right of, or the right middle of the ribbon, is the header and footer section. And if I go here and click on header, I'm able to actually then select like a specific type of header that kind of goes in there. But then down here at the bottom of the menu is a little button that says edit header. So if I click on that, you'll see now actually that my text, my document down here is kind of fogged out. It's kind of grayed out, kind of not editable, and you can see the cursor is up here at the top of the page, and I got this little tab that says header with this line going across. This shows you the header space that you're in. The other way, I'm going to come up here, I'm going to close header and footer. You'll also notice if I go down to the bottom, there's also the footer down here, so you can actually see where those areas are on the page. I'm actually going to close it right now and just show you the other way. This is what I always do when I'm working with the header and footer, because it's the fastest and the easiest, is if I come up here to this top part of the page and I double click, it enters into the header or footer. I could also do the same thing at the bottom of the page. And then to get out of it, I just double click down in the body of the document. So you have the header, the body, and then the footer. And you can just double click on those sections and it allows you to go in and start editing that. So once you're in the header or the footer, depending on where you want to be, we're working in the header right now. What can you do? Well, you can, just like in any part of Microsoft Word, you can just start typing whatever you want here, whatever you want. You can type that in here. You have full access to the fonts that you do normally, so there's never make things bold, italic, underline. You can do whatever formatting that you want to do with the text. If I scroll down, you'll see that on page 2 down here, that header is the same as on the first page. So whatever you enter on one page of the header will show up on the header of all your other pages. With some exceptions, as I mentioned, we'll get to that in a bit. But the header, also you can insert in certain kind of elements. They have what they call elements or parts that they're kind of, that you can kind of grab from information about the document. So I'm back here in the header and footer tab. You notice that when we're in the header and footer, we get a new tab on our ribbon, one of these context sensitive tabs that only shows up when we're in the header and footer. Over here, we have our header and footer. This is the same 3 buttons that we had here that showed up in the insert. So you can kind of see this header and footer section here is the same as this header and footer section here. And if I click on header and footer, you can see there's several different kind of like templates for headers. And you can kind of choose something to match whatever design aesthetic that you're trying to do for your header or for your footer if you want. You can see all the different kind of footer designs. When you get kind of more comfortable with it, you can go in and actually design those yourself. I tend to actually stick with, I'm kind of a simple person, I tend to stick with these blank ones here. And that's what we'll be working with in the class. But feel free to go in and kind of play around with some of these other options that are going on. There's also, if you notice right here, the header and footer has its own insert section here. And this has the different parts that you can kind of insert into your header or footer. So for example, there's a date and time. If you wanted to be able to insert the date and time, if I click it there and such, I can choose what format. How does my date show up in the document? So if I like, for example, showing the year first and then the month, or if I just want actually Tuesday, April 7th, 2020, that's what we're at right now, and I do OK, you can see it inserts that in automatically. If I come back, actually, we're going to undo that, and I go back in date and time, you notice in the date and time box, there's a checkbox down here that says update automatically. And so what this does is this will, when I put in the date, it will show whatever the current date is. If I save the document, close it, and come back to the document tomorrow, it will still show today's date because that was the date it entered in April 7th. But if I check this update automatically, I put in the date, make sure that update automatically is checked, save the document, close it, open up tomorrow, it will automatically update that date to show April 8th, 2020. It'll show whatever the current date is. So if you want to put in something like the date or time that will constantly update to match the current time on there, you can do this update automatically. The next one over here is this document info. And so things like author, file name, file path, document title. What these all are, these author, file name, file path, document title, where it gets this information from is in this info. If I go to the File tab on my ribbon here, go into the Backstage view, remember the Backstage view, and come down to Info, this is all available over here. So for example, the author, you can actually put in who the author is. In this case, if I put in Frank Skornia, it tells that there's my author added in. I can put in the title, this is Intermediate Word. And so by doing that there, now if I go back, my header and footer and insert in author, you can see now it put in my name into the author there. I go over here and I insert in the document title. You can see it inserts in document title there. That's where that information comes from, and those different parts that you kind of include. I'm not going to delete this because I'm in here right now. Okay, you can insert pictures into your header or footer. So if you wanted to, it's a good place if you wanted to put a watermark, or if you wanted to put a logo for your company. If you have a company, you can put your logo up into the header and it'll show up then on every single page. Quick parts, this is where you're able to pull things like initials and document property. You're able to pull in things like, again, all the different properties. This kind of allows you to quickly insert some of that information there. What we're going to do actually here is that we're going to actually, for our exercise, go to the right page. We're actually on to step 3 on our exercises. So we're on to page 2, and we're working on exercise 3 here, just to give a sense of where we are on our practice exercises. We're going to insert the edit, and we're going to go in and we're going to insert the header up here, and I'm going to choose this blank 3 columns. I tend to like this blank 3 columns because what it does is it gives me 3 different spaces, boom, 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 where I can automatically aligning these different places so I can put different pieces across the top or bottom of my document. You can also do the 3 columns down on the bottom. So on the left column here, I just have to click on it, and it says type here. Click on it, it turns the whole thing gray and allows me to start typing. And I'm going to type in WWI for Wide World Importers. inventory sheet. And you can see that enters that in there. And if I go down and look at page 2, there it is entered onto page 2. I'm going to delete the middle column, and that's just as easy as clicking on it so it's selected in that gray or blue or whatever your selection color is, and then hitting the delete key on my keyboard. So that's just because I don't want to use that middle section there. And then over here on the right, I'm going to put in the date. So that's that date and time. So I'm going to click on it. I'm going to come up here to my insert date and time. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to put in April 7th, 2020. Okay. Now it's inserted in the date. You notice again, it does it on all the pages there. If I went and created a new page, it would show up at the top there as well too. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go down to the footer. And we can do that by actually just clicking down in the footer down here, or I can come up here to my header and footer menu. And actually, so what happens is with the footer, you can go in and you have the exact same kind of options you have with the header. But what I want to do down in the footer actually is I want to insert in page number. So I'm actually going to look at this insert page number here. So I'm going to click on insert page number, and I'm going to get an option. Do I want to put the page number at the top of the page? Do I want to put it at the bottom of the page? Do I want to put it in the margins? So do I want to have it on the sides? However you want to design your document. Sometimes like if you put it over like on the right side, sometimes it's really easy to kind of flick through the pages, like thumb through the pages and be able to see those page numbers, where it might be a little bit difficult to see if it's down at the bottom of the document. Current position means wherever your cursor is. In this case, we're going to actually put it down here at the bottom of the page, and I'm going to go put it over on the right side of my document. So down in the bottom right corner, I'm going to go down to plain number 3, right here. Click that there, and you can see now it's dropped in 1. If I go down here, it's put in page 2, and that will update as the document continues. So I'm going to actually give you time to kind of go back and kind of work on this on your own document. So again, we are in step 3 here of our Word document here. We'll insert a header, choose the blank 3 columns, type this into the left column, delete the middle one, put the date, put the footer, and put the plain number 3 into the page number there. If you have questions, let me know in the chat. Since there's a bunch of different things here and such, I'm going to give it about 5 minutes, and then we will continue. couple more minutes. Again, if you have questions, ask them in the chat. Okay, so everybody spent some time looking and playing around with their headers and footers. I realized a couple more things I just kind of want to go because I keep mentioning about the fact that it's the same header and footer on every single page. Surprising actually that I don't have it out here on my sorry, on my outline to cover. Okay, so as I mentioned, the header and footer are the same on every single page, with a couple of exceptions. So if we notice up here in the header and footer ribbon tab, we have this options section right here. And in the options, it says different first page, different odd and even pages, or show document text. If I turn this off, if I click, it will hide. So I'm just looking at the header and footer. Turn it back on again, I can see how it looks with the rest of my document text. But what these do is if I do different first page, what it'll do now is you can see now my header up here and my footer are empty. And instead of it saying header and footer here, it says first page header. And come over here, and this here now on the second page just says header. So what the first page, different first page means is different first page allows you to have a different header or footer on the first page of your document. Why would you want to do this? One reason is that the first page of your document is a cover page. So on a cover page, you're not going to want to have a line at the top that says header or has the heading information up there or the page number down the bottom. You just want to have the cover page with your title and author's name in the middle and whatever information. This is for like research papers or other kind of reports. So you, in that case, what you would do is you would come in and you would mark different first page and then leave those blank. So if I was doing like a title page or a cover page, I wouldn't have a header or footer on them. I would use different first page, and then I would start my header and footer on page 2. And you can see the page number still continues on there. There are ways to kind of edit what that starting page number is. So if I want the cover page not count towards the page numbers, I can come in and I can tell this here to edit a format page. So I'm up here. I clicked on my page number and boop. Okay. Come up to the page number up here, my insert. I'm coming down to format, and I can actually tell it to say start at page 1. And now what happens is that that's usually the way that you would do it. There is actually start. It would start counting from page 1 there, or you would actually go into different sections. You would make your cover page a different section than the rest of your document, which is a good design things. That's something that's going to get looked at in our advanced Word class next week, next Tuesday. Is looking at different sections and how to arrange those different information. The other way to have a different header on different pages is this second option here, which is different odd and even pages. So I'm going to actually do this. And I'm turning off my different first page and turning on different odd and even pages. And now you can see that now it says odd page header. And over down on my next page, it says even page header. So what that allows me to do is that allows me, you can see the even page header doesn't have anything on it right now. And so that allows me to have a different header on my odd or even pages. Again, the question is, why would I want to do that? A good example of that is go back and look at a book. And because books are a really good example of how a word processor works and how the print layout is kind of done. If you look at a book, sometimes on some books, if you look on you open up the book into the middle, and you look at the left page, which is an odd numbered page, you'll see that maybe it has the title of the book across the top of the page above the text, and maybe down there the page number is maybe towards the left edge of the page. On the right page, which is actually no, sorry, the left page is an even number. The right page is an odd number. On that one there, you might say have the author's name up at the top, and maybe the page number is over to the right side of the page. So a book may have a different odd and even header or footer. And you can kind of do that same thing in your Microsoft Word document. So if I wanted to, on my odd pages, which is my right side pages, and I don't, my camera actually should be, yeah, right side. Things are mirrored. I don't exactly know if I'm waving my right hand here. I don't know if it's actually the right for what you're seeing. Sorry. But on my document here, on my odd page, I want this to be over on the right side. And then on my even pages, I'm going to insert a page number, bottom of the page, over on the left side. So now when this prints, like the page numbers will be on opposite sides of the document. So that's how you can have different headers and footers on different pages through those limited kind of means. Otherwise, it will be the same header and footer on every single page. I think that's everything I have to cover about headers and footers. If you have questions, please ask them in the chat. We're now going to move on to kind of the last thing we're going to cover in this class, which is styles. Now, what are styles? Styles are basically a kind of cohesive design set or design template for your document. Styles live here in the Home tab. So we're back at our Home tab. So we're leaving our Insert tab where we spent most of this class, and we're moving back to the Home tab. And it's this big section here. And I always kind of point out the fact that because it takes up such a huge amount of space on the Home tab, the tab that by default, when you open up a Microsoft Word document, this is the tab that you're always in. And then Styles is all right here, taking up so much space. It's a very important part of how Microsoft Word is intended to be used or intended to work. And so what they do actually is, let me open this up here. You can kind of see the different styles. So there's a whole bunch of different things around here. You can kind of see they have little labels on them. So there's normal. Most times when you're working in Microsoft Word and you're typing things in Word, you're typing things in normal. And what the normal is what the normal font. In my case, I have it set for Times New Roman, size 12, not bolded, not italicized. It's just the simple Times New Roman text. I actually have changed this year. By default, in most Microsoft Word documents, it's actually Calibri size 11 is the normal font. I've changed mine, but then there's things like no spacing, and then you have these heading kind of things. And these here, what they do is they start putting in kind of design elements. So like this larger blue, smallest blue kind of heading on there. What it does is it allows you to start marking areas that will get these formatting. And one of the nice things about styles is that it allows you to be very consistent with how your document looks. So when you're typing like a long document, you're typing something that's going to end up being a report that's going to end up being 40 or 50 pages long. You're going to have a bunch of different chapters or a bunch of different sections on there. And so you go in and you put like the section heading in some place. You don't have to try to remember the last time that you put in, so you're working on section 4 and you put in section 4 heading. You don't have to try to remember, okay, section 3 heading, how did I format that there? What size was the text? What font did I use? Was it bold? Was it underlined? You could always scroll back and take a look and try to match and replicate. But by doing that kind of thing, you start adding in the possibilities of errors or mistakes. Whereas if you choose a style, so like for section heading, I decide to make all my section heading titles be heading 2. I highlight the text, so we're going to choose like beautiful bamboo, and I'm going to say, okay, I want this to be heading 2, and I turn that on. Everything that I mark as heading 2 will have the same design. The benefit also of using the styles means that if I change the design, so if I decide, okay, when I'm all done with this document, I don't really like this blue as kind of the coloring that I've used in all my heading there and such. If I manually went in and made this blue color, in order to change that document, I'd have to go back manually to every single time that I used it and change the color to whatever I want to do. But if I set everything as being heading 2, I only need to change the style or the design of heading 2, and it'll automatically change it wherever I used it. So the styles actually allow you to be consistent and then also allow you to be very flexible and very efficient with your design changes in your document. You can go through and mark things as headings and titles and however, and then when you change the design or the look of the document, everything will change automatically. And we'll look at that there as I continue to show this. The final thing that styles do is styles also allow you to mark text or to tell Word that certain text should behave in a certain way. So the styles are more than just a design thing. So for example, if I mark this top thing, wide world importers, the top of my document here, I'm going to mark this as a title. It's obviously going to change the look. This is what the title looks like. But it also tells Microsoft Word that this is a title. And if I do anything later on in my document that needs to refer to a title section, that's what it'll look at there. That becomes really important when we're looking at things like headers, the heading 1, heading 2, and heading 3. This will come up actually when we're doing our Microsoft Word Advanced or the Advanced Microsoft Word next week, is that when you make a table of contents in Microsoft Word, if you're doing an automatic table of contents, it looks for heading 1, heading 2, and heading 3. It looks for text that is marked as heading 1, heading 2, or heading 3 in order to figure out what it needs to put into that table of contents. So the styles not only allow you to do the design of your document, but they also start giving information to Microsoft Word about the structure or the layout of your document. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through and we're going to set some styles in this document that we have. So as I've already marked this top section here as my title, I'm going to set this section down here, Furniture and Accessories for Your World. I want to set this as a subtitle. So it's kind of like the secondary title of my document here. So we're going to select that there. This address and web address here, that as subtle emphasis. So you notice there's a subtle emphasis here. So I'm going to mark that as subtle emphasis. Oop, I didn't get that last M. Oop, there we go. And then I'm going to mark the top of each of my sections, my 2 sections here. I'm going to mark these here as heading, I did as heading 2. I'm going to mark them as heading 1. 1 and heading 1. I'm going to give you about 2 minutes. Go into your document and mark the and follow along with the exercises again. So I'm actually just following along with the exercises. We're working at exercise 4 here. We're going to set the style of the top line to title, second line to subtitle, third and fourth lines to subtle emphasis. We're going to set the heading, the title of each section to heading 1, and then choose the last paragraph and set it to quote. That I'm going to give you about 2 minutes, and then we're going to continue on with the last of these exercises here. Let me know if you have any questions in the chat. This paragraph. Right, so have you gone in and set the styles of your different sections in your document there? So now, okay, so big deal. We've done some nice little design. It all looks kind of nice there and such. But what can we do now that we've actually marked some things as styles? So one of the things is that you can, in a single stroke, change the entire design of your document really easily. And we're going to do that there by going to the Design tab on our ribbon here. Now, if you're in an older version of Microsoft Office, Office 2010 or 2013, this Design tab doesn't exist. This step actually shows up in a slightly different way. So if you are using an older version and you're a little bit lost, let me know in chat, and I will try to demonstrate where that section is so that you can kind of follow along with this step. But if you're using Office 2016, Office 2019, which is the newest version, or Office 365, which is the constantly updated one that we're using here, there will be a Design tab here. And we go into the Design tab, and this is where we're able to see all the different themes that we have available in Microsoft Word. You notice over here, themes. If I come over here, there's a whole bunch of different themes kind of selected on the top left under themes. I can go through and I can kind of select. And as I move my mouse over these here, you can kind of see as different parts of the text over here change depending on the design that I choose. So I'm actually going to go in and we're going to choose, let's see. Choose Berlin. Yeah, let's choose Berlin here. So I'm going to choose Berlin, and you can now see I have a different font selected here. My subtitle looks a little bit different. My headings changed from that blue that I was using. Is in themes. Yeah, in the older version, Gigi or Gigi, under home, there's actually like there's actually like a button on the home tab, like next to the styles here, that will talk about themes. They took that whole thing and kind of moved it to its own tab in a later version, but you should be able to see that there. And if you're not finding it there, let me know. And what I'll do is I'll pull up kind of like an image of where it should show up on here. But in here, once I've chosen a theme, I can also choose some of these other designs here. And you can kind of see if I go in and this one's pretty drastic. If I collect this here, you can kind of see, like, I mean, it really drastically changed. But because these were marked as heading 1, they both changed at the same time. I didn't have to go back manually to change how that looked. It automatically changed it. My quote down here looks the same. If I go here and select this here again, this here changes. So it's like a single click is allowing me to change all the different aspects. Actually, I really like this design. I'm getting distracted. One click allows me to change the design of my document without having to go back manually and changing things one by one. It's really useful to keep this in mind. If you are going to be working on a large document that you're going to be doing design features in, to start using the styles from the beginning. So think about when you sit down and start working on a document, think about how you're going to want it laid out and how you're going to want to kind of organize the information. Are you going to have chapters? Are you going to have sections? Are there going to be different headings? Are you going to use titles or subtitles? And start using those right from the beginning. Because if you get all the way to the end of a document, and I mean, if you're working on, it's like a 3 or 4 page document, it's not a trouble to go back page by page and kind of do this kind of thing. But if you start working on a document that's going to be 30, 40, 50 pages long, having to go back and change things just increases the possibility of making an error or making a mistake or a typo that you won't notice until you've submitted it or sent it off. It'll be that you've click send on the email after you've attached it, and you'll be doing that one last kind of scroll through, and you'll say, oh, I missed that, and I missed that, and I missed that. This has happened to me more times than I can count. So it's always good to kind of plan from the beginning and start organizing. So themes allow you to actually like organize your document by the type of text that it is, and then you can kind of change the design really easily. Or styles, not themes. Themes change the styles. Some other design changes that we can do. So I was able to kind of choose some different formatting things here, I can also come over and choose my colors. If I don't really like this kind of like burnt orange red color, I can click colors over here and I can actually choose colors that might work better in my document. So I come down and chose these kind of purplish. Actually, since this is bamboo, we want to kind of go with choose green, and now everything's kind of a greenish color. And again, it's able to, with a single click, I'm able to change everything all at once. I don't have to go back and kind of change all this stuff manually in the document. I can change my fonts. So if I wanted to use kind of different fonts, and again, it's changing everything in the document to keep it all consistent. And that's really the key term in all this here. By using styles, you're able to keep consistency in your document formatting. So something like that. This is now kind of a nice looking document there and such. You can see down here my quote that I chose. Now the text itself is green. It's no longer black. It's still italicized, but it still stands out for the rest of the information. My headings look a little bit different. And you can do a variety of different things. You can do a watermark, all these kind of different design things that you can do into the document as well too. Final thing that we're going to do actually now is we're going to do a quick look at how to create and save your own style. So for example, what we're going to do is here, I'm going to go here to the title, and suppose I want my title to be a bit different. Suppose I want the font to be to really stand out, to be something different from the rest of the document. I can select it, highlight it like I do normal with formatting, and I'm going to go in and I'm just going to try to figure out a font. I have a bunch of stuff installed on this computer, so let's go down. Let's go Georgia. Georgia kind of a nice. I like serif fonts. Serif fonts are the ones that have these little like tick marks at the edges of the letters. And so now I've changed my title to be this Georgia. I want it on a single line, so I'm going to make a little. There we go. So I've changed my font. It's not matching the rest of the other stuff. And so what I'm going to do is on my back in my home tab under Styles, I'm going to open up Styles here. And right down here, I'm going to do create a style, or in an older version, it might say save style. I'm going to click that there, and it's going to give it a name. I'm going to call it title 2. So now when I go up here, I now have a title 2 option along with title. So if I decide I want to make this here into title 2, it will now match that up there with the font. I was able to actually make my own style. So you can either, if you're really into using styles, but you really have, say, a specific way that you have to design your documents, you can go in and you could actually start with like a complete blank set of styles up here. Or you can start with the styles and then you can kind of start building custom styles. So what is your heading supposed to look like? Is your heading always supposed to be a certain color blue, supposed to be a certain color size, and supposed to be like a certain placement on the page? It's supposed to be centered, or it's supposed to be to the right or left. Whatever your requirements for your document are, you go in, do that editing with the text. So choose the text that you want to make heading. So suppose you want to make your heading, and so I want to make this here. It's going to be bold, and it's going to be a larger size, and I'm going to make it kind of teal color, and this is what I want my headings to be. I can then come up here and do create a style and save it as that style, which you can then reuse as you create your document. And then it'll always kind of be available there in that style set that you create. So are there any questions on that there? We are at the end of the class here. We kind of covered everything. Again, I always encourage go in, play around, experiment. The practice document will continue to exist on our technology resources page. Now that I have this up, actually, it'll probably always kind of be up until something changes with the library. So it's a document that you can go in and kind of play around with. Upcoming class schedule tomorrow at the same time from 2 to 4. I'll be doing intermediate Microsoft Excel. So we're going to be looking at Microsoft Excel. We're going to be covering things like keyboard shortcuts. We'll be looking at how to work with the data, so sorting, filtering, conditional formatting, and we'll be looking at templates in Excel. On Thursday, I'll be doing intermediate PowerPoint, also from 2 to 4. There, we're going to be looking at doing like things like animations and transitions and some of the kind of the aspects of the presenter view. So when you're actually making the presentation, what are some of the different unique things that PowerPoint can do for you? Next week at this time from 2 to 4 on Tuesday, I'm going to be doing advanced Microsoft Word. So there we're going to be looking at things like creating a table of content, working with sections and page breaks and columns, and how to work with long documents, plus how to work in Microsoft Word collaboratively with other people. And then Thursday, April 16th, I'm going to be doing Microsoft Office Integrated. I'll be looking at how to use Microsoft Word, Excel, and PowerPoint all together as a single powerful tool. And then finally, on April 21st, I'll be doing an Introduction to Web Building HTML and CSS class. By then, we should have a better sense of what's happening with the library and what the schedule will be. There might be then more classes scheduled after that. Or we might be finally being able to go back to the actual library. But the online classes might continue then at a point. But this is our upcoming schedule. If you've missed any of this class here and such, the recording is going to be available on the YouTube channel. I will share the link here when it's all set. The final thing I just kind of want to make sure that we all kind of take a look at now is, or if you enjoyed this class, please go and take the survey at the link here, projectoutcome.org/responses/50642. This is also available on the online technology class under the intermediate Word. There's just a link there for the survey link. So please submit the survey. Just kind of see whether or not you like this class. This is kind of a new experiment for us there, and we do appreciate kind of whatever feedback that you can give for us on this. So thank you all for watching this here. If you have any questions or any about this class or future classes or what's just happening in the library in general, feel free to visit us. We have a live chat link on our website, fergusonlibrary.org. You can go and chat with our librarians who are on staff from about 10 to 5 each day during the week, or you can contact the library through our Contact Us page. The last thing I just want to kind of make sure that you all know about is at the very bottom of your handout, I do provide information for accessing Lynda Com, which is a really great way to kind of continue your learning with Microsoft Word. Lynda Com is a pretty comprehensive online learning platform. To access it, you'll want to go to this address here, this www.lynda.com/portal, patron, all that there. If you just go to lynda.com, they'll want you to pay for a subscription, but we're covering that there. You'll just need to sign in with your library card number. Click here, and it will open up the document. You'll sign in with your library card number and your PIN. If you don't remember your PIN, feel free to contact us at the library, and we can help you reset it. Your library card number, if your library card number is expired, also contact us. We'll be able to renew that as well too. And once you're signed in, you're able to access. They have a whole bunch of variety of different softwares and different skills to learn. I have outlined on here a few Microsoft Word exercises to kind of match with what we've covered in this class. So kind of either go deeper or extend kind of what we did here in the class. So there's that. Thank you very much. Once again, I encourage you to go complete the survey, and I hope to see you tomorrow at 2 for Microsoft Excel. I'll hang around for a couple more minutes. If you have any questions, please share them in the chat. Thank you. Thank you for attending.